Welcome everyone to the Founder Series Seattle edition. Thank you for coming out on a Friday. Beautiful Friday, should be a great weekend. A couple housekeeping tips before we get to what you really came here for, was hearing from founders who have built their own apps and got their own traction. Wi-Fi password is here. It's also there on the back. If you go to founderseries.webuildwithai.org, you will get this information as well. And you can also click on this event today and fill in the information to get your free promo code from Lovable. We'll go through when we do a quick demo after we hear from the founders on how you can get your free month. But for now, you should have this website also in your email. You should have received it around 1:30. And yep, we have a couple expert mentors here as well to help you sign up or apply the promo code if you want. So a little bit about myself and why I do these events. So my name is Adam Berg. I created We Build with AI a little over a year ago. And in that time, I've done over 50 events for about 3,000 people. We Build with AI is a community of AI experts that help anyone to build with AI. So I do AI coding workshops, build nights, hackathons. Especially I like lightning hackathons where you only have like 90 minutes to build something. So a fraction of the time that these founders have worked on their app, but it's a great way to get started. And you'll get a chance to build something on your own too, if you choose. We'll go through it in the agenda. I also do internal hackathons and workshops and consulting for companies as well. So you can see some of the people who've come through the events and some of the clients I work with. A little bit of my background. So the reason why I do these events is I don't have an engineering degree, but I've learned enough coding skills by working at different startups to be a little dangerous. But once AI and agentic coding solutions came by, it really opened up what I could build personally. And I'm trying to open that up to everyone else as well. I've led product teams, growth teams, strategy, marketing teams at big companies like Amazon, high growth startups like Uber, smaller companies like some companies in Brazil and Dropbox. Also, I'm very involved in AI Tinkerers here in Seattle, and I'm an expert in residence here at AI2 Incubator. What we're going to cover is you're going to hear from 5 founders on what they built and how they went through the process, so you can learn from them and how they got their initial customers. Then we're going to go through a quick live level demo of how to create a simple landing page to get signups for your own idea to help validate whatever you want to work on. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll have 2 options. We will have the founders up here for a panel discussion, some questions from me and some questions from the audience. Or if you want to take that time and build, because this is also being live streamed right now, so it's recorded. So optionality. We have some conference rooms back here, and we have some vibe coding mentors that can go in there with you and help you get set up on Lovable or kind of code something. And then at 4 o'clock, when we finish the founder panel, we'll open it up to the audience if there's anything you want to demo, or if you built something and you want to show the audience. That's kind of the idea, time permitting. And then at the end, when we're wrapping up, there'll be some more time to talk with the founders, to talk amongst yourselves as well. So before we get into the founder stories, I first want to introduce Elisa from Trilogy Ventures. So please give her a round of applause, because this event is possible with sponsorship from great VCs like Trilogy.
Hey everyone, I'm Elisa LaCava at Trilogy Equity Partners. We're super delighted to be sponsoring today, so it's great to meet all of you. For those we haven't met before, my colleagues Ernie and Alex are in the back. We're just going to be floating around. We are at Trilogy a 20-year-old seed fund in the Seattle area. We focus mostly on leading rounds for AI vertical applications, dev tools, infrastructure, middleware, for founders who are based in the Pacific Northwest. So I believe that's a good portion of this room. And we love partnering really closely with founders on that 0 to 1 journey in pursuit of product market fit and growth after that. So we'll be hanging around, would love to chat with anyone. So thank you again, and excited for everything today.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Ryan over there from Mighty O Donuts. So he created and founded Mighty O Donuts, which, you know, AI can't eat donuts, so his business is safe. So thank you for bringing the donuts. There's also drinks back there if you want, sodas and sparkling water. So feel free to get up. Restrooms are over here. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and introduce Jenia, who created the app Atta.
Hello, everyone. Just a second. Okay. I'm Jenia, Zimmerman-Buhaienk, and I'm the founder and CEO of Atta, an AI-powered female health assistant. I've spent last 9 years working in marketing for tech startups, and I'm really excited to share with you this part of my journey. So there are several reasons why I decided to build Atta, and one of them is on the screen. So as you can see here, male hormone levels and female ones are completely different. And we have our own hormone fluctuations throughout the whole monthly cycle with distinct 4 phases. So they basically influences our whole lifestyle, even our not only mood or maybe energy dips, but even cognitive function. And my question was, if we know about all of that, why so many women still sticking to the practices that were established by men and for men in terms of our productivity and our lifestyle? So another problem is that unfortunately 90% of the apps on the market, they focus on fertility. They focus on periods only, and that's basically, as you can see, only 25% of our cycle. So I had this question that if I want to live my life to its fullest as a woman and not only focusing on my fertility, but on my everyday productivity, what should I do with it? Maybe I should build something. So Atta is a mobile app that combines female health, wellness, and productivity on a daily basis. And I think that the story behind building it is very interesting because back in July, when I got this idea, I realized that, first of all, I have to figure out whether the market needs it or not. And so during August and September, I've been spoken with more than 200 women. And I've gathered all of these insights about their previous experience with cycle thinking, with other apps. And I finally knew what I should build and also how I should communicate about it. Then in October, I had another question. If I'm a marketing founder, how could I actually build this? So that's when She Builds Hackathon happened in my life, and I needed to build Atta's MVP in 48 hours. I done that, and I started getting an early feedback, which helped me quickly realize that it's actually impossible to get to the point B about what I had in my mind about Atta without building it full time. So I quit everything, and in November, I started locking myself in with Atta. And by February, I've done all the main job for the version 1. And another challenge was to switch it from web to iOS. And it took another month. Also, I've been waiting for this month for the App Store approval. And on March 21st, Atta was finally publicly available. So as you can see, I was really happy about it. And answering the question, how is it all going right now? Well, after about more than a month since the launch, it has more than 200 active users, as well as paid users, because it has almost 1,500 error bar. So speaking about its functionality, as you can see here, like let's say you woke up, you want to set the mood and check just your schedule for the day. You can see where you are in your phase, and Atta basically have 3 layers of personalization. Your data from the onboarding, everything about your lifestyle, like starting from your dietary preferences, ending with whether you have kids or not. Second layer is everything you log on a daily basis, your mood, your energy, your symptoms. And third layer is from your variables, like the quality of your sleep, the level of your activities for the day. And after that, Atta combines it all and provides you with the recommendations on how you should eat, work, move, and rest today. It also makes it not only for the day, this one, but also for tomorrow and 1 week ahead and 2 weeks ahead. So it's really easy to schedule everything around your cycle visit. Also, it analyzes all of this data. It provides you with insights like how this symptom combines with that one and how you can actually prevent them. So what I used to build it, of course, my main platform was Lovable, and I use it for prototyping, for wipe coding, and for all of the integrations. For example, with my AI models, I use different Gemini models with automations like for email, for notifications, also for cloud. I use Supabase, and I use Gemini for prompts, for data analysis. I highly recommend it to use to brainstorm your ideas and to put it in a reasonable prompts. Also, Aspir was a tool I used to convert my web application to native iOS, and Figma was fully for design purposes. And speaking about three pieces of advice I would love to give everyone who wants to build something. Please start with your research, because I believe from my experience that the best thing that you can do without writing any line of code or even your first prompt is to ask people what they really need. So please take your time, and I highly recommend applying jobs to be done method. It's my favorite approach to research users, and I actually gave a lecture for a Lovable community last month. You can reach this video on YouTube, and I promise you this 1 hour could completely change your perspective on customer research. Also, I highly recommend to build your prototype first and test it with early users, like add the 2 or 3 main features, no more, and use Gemini to create your initial prompt. Also, if you want a good-looking and intuitive app, I highly recommend to rely on a professional designer instead of AI. I'm speaking again from my personal experience, because just a quick overview. On the left, you can see how Atta looked like on day 1 with only Lovable. In the middle, it's like the second version when I trying to tap into design by my own. And the third version, it's a current one after 2 months of working with a UX UI designer. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Also, here's my LinkedIn. Please don't be shy. Reach out to me with any other questions. And if you want to try Atta, it's completely free. You just simply can scan this QR code.
So a couple questions. So why did you start with Lovable? Like, what drew you to that versus other?
I think that the fact that they created She Builds Hackathon I really love this, because I guess when you feel that some companies want to support women in more than other companies, that really makes sense for me, especially in terms of the product I'm building. So I also really love what Elena Verna is doing. It's Chief Growth Officer, I guess, in Lovable. So yeah, that was the reason behind it. I even didn't try any platforms, like
Just, yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah.
What was the service you used to convert to iOS?
Aspir.
Aspir. Tell us about that.
So basically, it's a wrapper that puts above your web project all of the native features. So they have like a library of prompts that you can basically paste into your chat in Lovable, for example, and it will incorporate all of them. And via their internal engine, somehow, using this magic, they can convert it into iOS application. I frankly don't know how it works from the technical side. I'm not a technical founder, but it works, and I'm super happy about it. I also know that they can convert your app to Android as easier as to iOS.
And so tell us about that experience. Like, was it kind of just put it in and then did 99% of it?
No, absolutely not. No, I actually, as I said, spent around a month to apply it. And even though they have this huge library with prompts, of course, they don't work perfectly. And like, I had my issues, I've reached to their support, and unfortunately, not all of them could be fixed. But I would say that in terms of turning your application into iOS native, it's a really interesting path, because you start seeing that even from the user experience perspective, lots of things are not intuitive in your app. Because when you're testing it on web, like I did when I was building it with Lovable, I realized that opening some pop-ups or maybe entering some text into like a blank fields, it all have to be readjusted in order to make it useful on mobile.
And then maybe the last question, I guess we'll have time for the audience in the founder panel. Tell us about the process for kind of submitting it to the App Store, or like, you know, if you got feedback, or like how long you waited, what you did while you were waiting.
Well, I've got 5 rejections before I finally have it approved. And it was fun because you cannot be fully prepared for it, even though there are a massive amount of guides on the internet. Even Despia provides you with these guides. No. So I guess the first feedback was that I have my privacy guidelines messed up or something like that. Frankly, it was not that difficult to fix it all. I would say that the most challenging part was that they have this 48 hours window until they reply to you. And if you, for example, fix it on Friday evening, you have to wait until the evening of Tuesday. And so it was on and on and on, this endless conversation. And especially when it was like, you know, this picture, well, we simply don't like the size of the text on it. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you guys. And sometimes they don't have any guidelines about stuff. So yeah, it was fun. Took me about a month to finally receive this approval.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so next we have Rachel, who created Codie.
I'll get share my screen.
Yeah.
It'll let me. Technical difficulties. So it's wanting me to move it on.
Say window.
Okay. We never had this issue.
Oops.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
I guess while we're waiting, does anyone have one question for Jenia, who has a really great question, dying to get a response to? Sure.
So when you submitted your app to iOS, obviously there are furthers. I tried the same as well. Did you use Gemini? Because I really felt Gemini was so helpful in answering whatever they were asking for. Share your experience. How were you able to answer and figure out your correct the problems?
Yeah, so Gemini is my main platform to find answers for all stupid questions, not stupid help. So yeah, I basically pasted into my chat everything that Apple team messaged me with, and I think that even though I had all of my answers, I wasn't sure 100% until they actually got it. So yeah. I think it's the trickiest part because, like, you have in mind that this is the launch date you want to have, but you actually have to wait for a week or 2 or 3. So yeah, I think that another tip is to like have at least 1 month prior to the launch to just figure it all out yourself. So
Thank you.
Okay. You ready for me?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Rachel. I'm actually an attorney, and then I left private practice. And thank you. Left private practice, went into tech, worked at a tech startup, and then had a layoff. It was my first experience with layoffs. That was fun. And then decided I'm going to, you know, enjoy my severance package and figure out what I actually want to do with my life. An existential crisis. And so my first experience with Lovable was creating Codie. It's, as you can see, calmer, kinder way to plan your day. And it's built for ADHD brains. If it'll let me, there we go. So I don't know if anyone in here is neurodivergent. I have autism and ADHD, and if you have tried any of these so-called productivity apps, thank you. Wait, nope, that wasn't me. People. There we go. Okay, y'all can see everything. All right. Where was I? Oh, okay. If you've tried any productivity apps that are marketed for people with ADHD, they're terrible. I was just telling Liz that it really got under my skin last year when App of the Year was an ADHD app that I tried several years ago, and it couldn't keep my attention for more than, 20 minutes. I got one dopamine hit out of it, and that was it. So my husband told me about Lovable. I was like, what the hell is that even? I had never even heard of it. And this is just, 6 months ago. And so I started building, thinking this was just going to be for me. And then I was telling people about it, and they started asking for it. So instead of it just being for me, it is now a progressive web app. I have not had the courage to submit it yet to be actually on the App Store, because I've heard that it's just a really grueling process. But now I'm just gonna have to suck it up and do it. So Codie is not a to-do list. People with ADHD, we can make our own damn to-do list. What we need is someone to actually organize things for us, tell us where to go, what to do. And the most important feature that distinguishes Codie from other apps is it's an energy-aware scheduling system. So it plans your day around your high focus capacity. So whether you have capacity and whether you have availability are completely different things. For me, even if I have 8 hours to spend doing stuff, I can probably get a good 3-4 hours that day, probably with some breaks in between. It has reality check prompts. So, if you are scheduling something or adding something to your list and you say, oh, I think this is going to take 20 minutes. People with ADHD typically have time blindness issues. Codie recognizes that and says, let's actually buffer this and make it a little longer, because we both know it's not going to be just 20 minutes. Overload detection, so it flags overpacked days before you even have to deal with it, and then a focus zone of answers the question that my brain asks the most, which is, what actually do I need to do? So it took me 10 days to get from my very first Lovable prompt to my MVP. And so it officially launched on December 1st, 2025. And I spent the next 2 months iterating and fixing it on Lovable based on user feedback. I recruited people I knew, friends, family, former colleagues, and said, I just need you to try this and try to break it. Figure out where the bugs are, help me fix this. And it was great. And then I was, one of the great features that I actually love about Lovable is that you can see users logging in and see who signs up and get that data and information without having to integrate with other apps. And I noticed for a while that, over the course of like 3 weeks, that there were a bunch of people signing in or creating an account and then never doing anything, no activity. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I thought it was my onboarding, or, I don't know, I thought it was something else. And then I stumbled across a bug. I had Claude actually craft a prompt for me to put in Lovable that made it go through the entire code base and do an audit. And lo and behold, there was an issue that was actually preventing these people from using the app. And so, the thing that kind of kept me up at night was these people did what I always did in apps, which is like the first time that you hit, a wall somewhere, you're like, screw it, I'm not doing it. Never submitted any support tickets. I had no idea. So for 3 weeks, I was like, this is just a terrible idea. I'm wasting my time. And I don't think those users ever came back. I sent follow-up emails, offered them a discount thing of saying, please, if you were going to try the paid version, here's the discount. And some of them, I've got a good amount of users now, but I don't think that those 12 years of users actually ever came back. And I'll talk about what I learned from that in a minute. So I might need your help again, but I'm going to, so progressive web app, which means Codie is here on my desktop. Can you see Codie? Okay, so this, well, there we go. So this is my actual to-do list. Here, this is the focus zone. You can start the focus and keep a timer. And you can, if you don't want to do this first task, you skip to the next. And then there's Codie suggestions, which are, which is actually just, I didn't even have to integrate. It's just whatever Lovable is used for AI on the back end, but it's kind of a reassuring suggestion of, you know, hey, this is a certain focus type and it will require dedicated attention. Because for those of us who have ADHD, we can look at a to-do list and feel completely overwhelmed and I don't even know where to start. So we have the quick wins thing. You set your availability. So it actually knows truly what your availability is. But the key here, when you go into account settings, also there's encouragement tone and all sorts of things. Daily focus limit. So like I said, my focus limit is 4 hours. Use a different, you can optionally use a different limit on the weekends. But when you create a task, one thing you'll do is it high focus or is it light admin work? And it takes that into account when you're actually scheduling things. So even if you have 10 high focus tasks due, if they exceed that 4 hours, it's not going to schedule that for you, and it's going to give you some quick wins in another way and get those dopamine hits. Your schedule, you can have just a list view, calendar view, which I'm still working on because I don't like that it's kind of clumped together right here. But yeah, so that's basically it. And you can also have projects. And so everything is grouped. These are my various projects and companies that I have. Minimize that. And then how do I go to see? Everyone's like, you should do Gamma. I'm elder millennial. I don't do Gamma. Okay, so 5 months in, I've got 65 active users. I've spent a total of $50. And I haven't posted anything for Codie since January on social media. I haven't done hardly anything with it. I've been focusing on a couple other projects, but I've been the last month circling back to this. And so, you know, I think that once I feel like sustaining 65 users and not engaging very much on social media, if at all, and not using any ads, for me, that's a huge win because that tells me that the folks who are using it are staying and I'm not having to make much effort. And so, you know, all the research I did to ensure that things are designed in a way that benefits people who are neurodivergent, I think I'm onto something here. So 2 things: audit, don't patch, don't try to fix the little bug. Come up with a good solid prompt and iterate it multiple times with Lovable so that it does a full audit. Because I think what I was doing initially was trying to fix what ended up being UI UX issues and not actually auditing the back end. And so that's what caused that root issue for me. Also, activation, not pricing. I had offered people, I tested different discount codes, lifetime discount codes, a free month, a free year, whatever. It has had 0 impact on whether anyone stays or goes or uses the app for, you know, 1 time, 10 times. So, you know, I think that people, like I say here, they were bouncing because the first 5 minutes weren't clear. I think fixing that funnel and then worrying about pricing and discount codes, that's not what is going to keep people around. So that's it. That's Codie.
So you mentioned you're also working on a second business as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about kind of that thought of like, do I stay on this? Do I work on a different idea?
Yeah. So again, ADHD, I've always got like a bunch of things going on. So I actually have a legal tech startup, and that's been my main focus, because there have been some investors and some funding that I've needed to show that that is my focus. And now that those things are, I've figured out what type of funding, maybe not going with the standard VC model, things like that. I'm coming back to Codie now, and I think it was just, I probably would have tried to do a 50-50 division of my time if it wasn't for these investors who were literally taking up all of my time, which is a good problem to have, right? I'm not complaining at all. But yeah, so.
Make the other app with Lovable as well, or a different platform?
That was a mix of Lovable and Replit. Not recommend Replit. My marketing site is for Batesley is my legal tech startup. My marketing site 100% on Lovable. I will always find a way to circle back to Lovable. I've used a combination of that. I really wanted to have Batesley, the entire platform, on Lovable, but for legal tech and having a multi-tenant, it just, I needed something a little more robust. But I've done, I think, total 9 websites and apps in the last 6 months. Most of them were done in a day. But Codie is always going to be the thing that I go to when I want to shout from the rooftops how great Lovable is. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Doyle, the founder of Aspir and also the program director for Founder Institute Seattle. We've just started our first cohort, about 23 founders in the program. So a lot of different startup ideas, a lot of things in progress. I'm just curious in the room, how many people here have built a prototype, whether it's a website or a product, have tinkered? Oh, I love this. Okay. How many people have built more than one prototype of something? Yes. Okay. Is anybody making money yet? Okay. All right. I mean, it's not a, we're not in a competition here, but one of the things that got me really interested in building Aspir specifically was I had spent about 7 years working in startups, reporting to the CEO of Series A funded companies and seeing a lot of the fundamentals kind of fall through the gaps because they were resting on their technical laurels. So they didn't really do customer discovery. They didn't really talk or engage with their customers. They didn't understand go-to-market or what their channels were. And they kind of like, they did the developer communities and the things that they had to do, but they weren't really engaged in that. And ultimately that ends to a lot of downfall in startups. So I learned very early on that customers were really important. Early sales motions were really important. And so when I got into the startup community in Seattle about a year ago, I was just kind of exploring, seeing what accelerators and incubators were out there, seeing what the community was like. I found spaces like the AI House to be really incredibly helpful for connecting to people. And then I also realized that, Seattle has this niche. There isn't, we like certain types of businesses here. It feels like, we have safe spaces, comfort zones. So for somebody who is a founder-minded person like me, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I'm the baby of 5 and all of my siblings have businesses. I went the black sheep route and went corporate America for a while and eventually found myself as a founder. I see a major trend happening in the world with AI around entrepreneurship specifically, more people going into the entrepreneurship space. And I see it as a critical life skill for everybody. So that's where I found access and resources were limited and constrained. As a program director myself now of the Founder Institute, unfortunately, I can't accept everybody that wants to get into the program. That doesn't mean that they're not good founders or good builders and can't get there. It's just I'm resource constrained as a program director, and that's across the board, universities, VCs. So access was something that became really important to me. And so how do I do that? Aspire became the thing that I started tinkering with to see if I can build something that could make it happen. On that note, I'm on my 5th iteration of this project. So my first couple prototypes, I ran pilots early last year. I had design partnerships. I had people critique me around the user interface, the flow of things. And originally it was designed to be a customized roadmap for a founder. And it was going to live in a traditional kind of SaaS web platform. And then like the spark in me started to realize that that may not be where technology lives in the future, right? Not everything needs a software platform. Not everything needs a UI to operate. But I started building in Replit, and those were the first prototypes that I built. I have some technical background, not completely a software developer, but I do understand back end, API, some front end. And so again, not an expert, but I found Replit to be somewhat better for me because I wanted a little bit more control over those things early on. And I wanted to basically test and iterate in a platform that had a little bit more technical tools for me. So not for everybody, but I will tell you, when I brought on my first interns last year who knew nothing about coding tools, my product design intern, she was amazing. She's from Brazil or Argentina. And she wanted to immediately get on Figma. And she was like, you're asking me to do this in really quickly, but my process is like this. And she gave me the typical design, product designer process, right? I'm gonna mock this up, and then I'm gonna do that. And it was like it was a long-term thing. And I was like, we just don't have time for that, right? Like, can't take the time to do that. Have you tried Lovable? And she was like, no. She sat with it for a minute. She finally caved and she started using Lovable, and she immediately was like, holy crap. Like, she was texting me all day long, showing me what she was making and like super excited about what she was doing. She's since gone on. She's in Germany now, and she's building a bunch of prototypes for other startup founders. But she got out of the Figma loop, which I thought was really cool. That said, where I'm at right now with Aspire is something a little bit different. And so I'll share an example of kind of how we are living in, the space of entrepreneurs right now. So let me just do this. So this is an opinionated agent stack for founders. This is my repo. I have saved on my local device a repo that is an AI employee with jobs, rules, and skills, a manager with jobs, and then a personalized employee with learnings, rules, and skills that continuously evolve. So this is how I'm able to create a tool that is founder focused, that lives in their environment, whatever that looks like. And I'm using more MCPs and integrations that way. So like navigating to the sites that they want to use, rather than saying, hey, I need to build everything for you. This is like, let me build something that helps you navigate what you currently use or what you prefer. So this is the founder facing side. And then the program facing side for me, and this is an example of somebody in my cohort, shows me how many jobs the founder is running, what jobs they're running. So if they're business plan creation, customer discovery, all of these things, I don't need to know all of the details. I just need to see at a program director level if they're actively engaged in building their company and where they're actively engaged. I can even go down into specific quality of their jobs. So for example, their business strategy. And this tells me they've done enough market evidence, they've done enough competitive analysis. They haven't really thought through their unit economics yet, and they have an understanding of the strategy around their business. So now from a coaching perspective, I can look at this and say, this is where we're going to focus our conversation on this week. So I'm looking at program directors, I'm looking at facilitators of coaching founders. I'm looking at programs where founders get grants and there's a vested interest in seeing those founders succeed or do something significant with those funds in their business. So all in all, that to say, it's been an interesting journey. I thought I was going to start with a web-based platform for everybody, and it's evolving and changing. I think AI is forcing us to think differently about how we solve problems for people, and I'm in that journey. As far as, I guess, tips that I have for people, it really is to stay curious. It's to try to meet your customers where they are rather than try to force them onto something that you're building specifically if you can. Like you had mentioned, getting their health data and like pulling in things that from their environment that make your product smarter is definitely the way to go. The other thing is, I mean, experiment, build, test. Don't be afraid to build something and then trash it, right? At this stage, if you have 10 customers, they will migrate with you. If you decide to rebuild a new platform, like you don't need to like be stuck on something, and don't be afraid to iterate quickly and bring your customers along the journey. Bring, design partnerships are really, really useful at the early stage. And you want people to really be invested in building a solution for themselves too.
So it's two questions. One, you talked about going through a few different iterations. How did you decide whether you wanted to improve what you had or kind of start over or like start fresh with a new iteration?
I guess I wasn't happy with how much friction users had. I want to remove as much friction as possible. And so if there was something in there that was creating a bottleneck that wasn't easy or intuitive to understand, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna force that on anybody. I need to make this better. Yeah.
And when you were first looking at developing your first prototype, how did you align on Replit as the one that you wanted to use versus other platforms?
Yeah, again, my technical ability is a little bit higher, though I'm not like a full-fledged developer by any means. And so I wanted something that would give me a little bit more control over some of the back-end technical components that I cared about. And yeah, Lovable was a useful tool for seeing the UI and the visual side of things, but with a back-end heavy product and a lot of APIs and integrations, like I really wanted to know what was going on.
And when did you create your first prototype?
February of last year.
So tell us, like, what's the evolution been over the last year or so in these coding agents?
Honestly, Replit has gotten, I mean, I've had some bad experiences with Replit. It's had some ebbs and flows for sure. I think I've seen really great progress. Right now I use Claude Code, and I use Claude Code almost exclusively. That said, if I still want to see something in a visual capacity, I usually go to Lovable. I'm also playing with some new development skills for the agents to see if they can get more creative and better designs. So I'm seeing a lot of really good progress being made. I think it's still challenging when it comes to deployment. If you're not a technical person, deploying an app, you really do need a platform that's going to help you do that end to end. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
share.
Is it possible to make Zoom full screen or better Zoom?
You can watch the live stream personally on your phone, but yeah, it's kind of as we can get for streaming as well. Like, because on the stream you see the full thing. It's just on this that it's not anything different.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Padmarchana Kandi. I am not founder for this Future World Alliance, but I lead strategies and programs for this global NGO, and I'm also a Lovable ambassador. Future World Alliance is a global nonprofit focused on helping people build the skills, confidence, and access they need to thrive in this AI-shaped future. Today, I'm excited to showcase AI Launchpad, not just as a learning platform, but as the platform infrastructure itself. At Future World Alliance, a large part of our work is building learning ecosystems and helping people become AI fluent in a rapidly changing world. But behind the scenes, many learning communities are all still running through fragmented systems and disconnected tools, such as Notions for curriculum, Google Forms for application, Mailchimp for communication, spreadsheets for tracking, community channels for discussion, and many manual flows for everything in between. Even though the learner experience looks smooth on the surface, the operational layer behind it is often heavy and manual and difficult to scale. And for nonprofits, that matters because every additional learner, mentor, session, assignment, and even community touchpoint adds more complexity going forward. So the question I became interested in was, what would happen if we stopped treating learning infrastructure as disconnected tools and started treating it as the integrated operating system? That's when I built this. I want to introduce AI Launchpad. This platform is a AI native operating system for running learning communities with onboarding learners, delivering curriculum, managing assignments, tracking engagement, supporting admins, and also giving learners AI-powered guidance in one connected platform. I built this entirely myself using Lovable in just 2 weeks. It is just one platform, one builder, and it is designed to scale learning communities without scaling operational complexity. This shows why I built this. This actually represents the scope of the platform. What started as a simple idea quickly evolved into a complete operating ecosystem. And one thing I want to emphasize here is this was not built with a traditional product or an engineering team. No front-end engineers, no back-end engineers, no dedicated PM, no separate design team. Everything you see here, from architecture designs to workflows to UI implementation, was built by one operator using Lovable. The platform eventually evolved into multiple connected product surfaces. The onboarding system handles authentication, profile creation, terms gating, and also learner access flows. The learner dashboard acts as the primary operating environment for the participants with curriculum access, assignment streaks, announcements, and progress tracking all live there. On the admin side, I built a full operating console for enrollments, applications, broadcast, task management, and assignment reviews and learner oversight. I also introduced an AI assistant layer with role-specific experiences for public users, for the learners, and also admins. That I will talk about it in the next slide. There is also project gallery. There's a global reach visualization. There is testimonial, engagement system, and leaderboard infrastructure, everything inbuilt in this one platform. A lot of operational workflows, including emails, unlocking schedules, assignment logic, announcements, data-driven actions are all automated behind the scenes. Historically, building such platforms system requires coordination across multiple teams and months of implementation cycles. But with Lovable, I was able to move from concept to functional infrastructure at a completely different speed. The broader realization for me was AI native tooling dramatically compresses the distance between idea and execution. So this is the AI assistant that I talked about. One of the most interesting layers for the platform is AI assistant system that I called AI chatbot. Initially, I was trying to add AI for the sake of AI, and I was trying to solve operational friction. In most learning communities, the same question repeatedly being asked, like, where do I start? What's the next step? What is the deadline? Where do I submit? What did I miss? How do I navigate the platform? And at scale, this becomes difficult to manage manually. So instead of building one generic chatbot, I designed a role-aware assistant system with different levels of context depending on the user. The public assistants help visitors understand the platform, the mission, and how to get started. And the learner's assistant acts like a personalized support layer, helping users navigate the curriculum, the assignment, deadlines, and weekly workflows. And at the admin level, it focuses on operational visibility, like pending reviews, learning engagement, participation trends, and also the cohort signals. The important architecture idea here was same intelligent layer, different operational context. And because this was built entirely inside Lovable using Gemini through the AI gateway, I did not need separate infrastructure or heavy backend orchestration to make this work. This became one of the cleanest examples for me of how AI native platforms can reduce cognitive overhead around entire ecosystem. Instead of increasing operational complexity as communities grow, the intelligent layer helps absorb it. That was the main idea behind it. And this is the curriculum and assignment system. Okay. Answer. Okay. This shows the complete loop, the curriculum and the assignment system. The side represents the core operational loop of the platform. Here, one thing I realized early was the most learning ecosystems are still heavily dependent on manual coordination. Someone has to unlock the curriculum content, send reminders, track submissions, review assignments, update spreadsheets, manage follow-ups, award participation, monitor engagement, and so on. As community grow, that operational burden grows along with them. So instead of designing this as a static content delivery, I designed it as a self-driving workflow system. The curriculum unlocks automatically based on the schedule logic driven through the database. Learners move from a structured flow from learn, build, submit, and receive feedback, earn points for the leaderboard, and maintain streaks, and continue progressing through the ecosystem. I intentionally reduce the friction throughout the process. Instead of complicated upload systems, learners simply submit the links for their Luma videos or the apps or the documents or projects. So on the admin side, the reviews happen through a streamlined approval sequence with feedbacks and automated point allocation. The leaderboard and the streak system are directly connected to the workflow. So the engagement becomes part of the platform architecture itself rather than a separate layer. The broader design principle here was momentum should be system supported, not manually maintained. So because the learning communities consistency is often a bigger challenge, than the capability. And this becomes another important realization for me, that AI native systems are not just about intelligence, they are about orchestration and how we build it. So this is the signals, streaks, and the leaderboard. This slide represents the engagement intelligence layer of the platform. On one thing I noticed from running the communities is that engagement problems usually become visible too late. By the time someone stops participating, misses assignments, or disengages from the community, that momentum would have already been lost. So I wanted to design a system where engagement becomes more measurable and visible in real time for learners as well as for admins. So every meaningful action inside the platform becomes a signal for the system. For example, finishing a lesson, submitting an assignment, joining a session, earning points, and also maintaining streaks and participating consistently. So all of these interactions flow in a unified event system that powers the streaks, leaderboards, and cohort heat maps, and also the admin analysis. The goal wasn't to reward only the highest performers, it was to reinforce momentum and participation. So on the admin side, this creates operational visibility into the health of the community. Who is active, who is engaging, who is disengaging, where participation is increasing, and also where support may be needed the most. So for admins, this will give a complete picture of the health of the community. This shifts community management from reactive coordination to proactive intervention. So another important design decision was making these signals visible both to the learners and also for the admins. So learners see progress and momentum, admins see operational health and cohort dynamics. And because of all this lives inside the same ecosystem, I did not have to manually aggregate data across multiple disconnected tools. The broader realization for me here was modern learning platforms should not just deliver the content, they should be able to understand the participation patterns in real time. And that was the idea behind this. So this slide is the complete ecosystem, the global cohort in one place. So at this point, I stopped thinking about the platform just as a curriculum infrastructure and started thinking about it as a living community operating system. So I wanted the experience to feel connected, visible, and also mission driven. So the project gallery showcases the learner's builds and also automatically syncs content into the centralized showcase layer. The global reach visualization helps make the community itself visible, showing that learners are participating from different cities and across different parts of the world. The learner's dashboard became the operational home base for progress, streaks, announcements, timelines, and resources, and engagement all live in one environment. I also wanted the platform to reflect the mission behind the ecosystem, not just the workflows. So that's where the wall of love and also the donation page systems come in. Testimonials, community appreciation, and fundraising are integrated within this experience instead of existing it as a separate disconnected layer. Another thing is I became very intentional about this is the visibility. In traditional online environments, learners often feel isolated. They consume content privately without feeling connected to broader momentum or community. So I wanted the platform to create a sense of shared momentum where people can build together, they learn together, and also ship together and contribute in a meaningfully something that is larger than what they're looking for. And operationally, all of this still run from one concentrated platform instead of fragmented tooling. The They are all they are all about creating coherence across experiences, operations, engagement, and community infrastructure. So I just want to say as a conclusion that one important thing I want to emphasize here is this is not just a concept prototype. This is the platform is currently live and actively being used by learners in the AI Launchpad by Future World Alliance. And we currently have we are currently operating part 1 of 3-part series, wherein in part 1 we have hundreds of learners already onboarded on this platform and actively using this on a day-to-day basis. And this this is giving us the traction and also help us to view how the engagement is being done, how the course is being consumed, and also how the learners are being active on this platform. So going forward, my idea for this is in the fall, we will be having the next cohort, wherein we want to scale this from 100 to 10x of whatever we are having on this platform. And the idea is that learning should feel approachable, and also it is easy to scale on such learning platforms where the experience feels so amazing. And we have a lot of even testimonials that are there on the platform. You can see that. Thank you for listening this. And I'm so excited that I showed this.
So you one question. What
Yes.
have been the biggest sticking points in developing this on Lovable? Like, what are your tips on how to get over some of those development hurdles?
So Lovable, as they say, it is very simple. You just talk to it and it does things for you, even if you don't have any technical background. So as being an ambassador, I'm very excited about experimenting with Lovable. And with the kind of features and the day-to-day developments that Lovable is offering, it becomes really interesting and exciting for anyone just to have an idea and then ask Lovable to build it for you and experiment with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Where am I looking? All right, there. Sure. I am getting some weird. I'll turn off my microphone here. That's what it is. Okay. Hello. Hi, folks. My name is Dune. Too many letters, first and last name. It never fit on the Scantrons. It never fit on the roll sheets in school. So I rebranded after high school. I've been in product design for about 20 years. I won't tell you much more than that because you can just look it up on LinkedIn. So what I want to talk to you about today is PathPilot. I am the solopreneur, solo builder around PathPilot. And this is not a love song. This is an anti-traction story, but with lots of learnings along the way. So what is PathPilot? PathPilot is an AI-powered platform built around process, geared for job seekers, people who are looking for new roles, processes, and personalization. You can think of it as a type of personalized ChatGPT tailored for job seekers with personalization baked in. And the thing that it does is it provides guidance, structure, the magic of AI in a way that doesn't just feel like it's AI writing for you, but it's more of an extension of who you are, and it understands you. So what I'm going to cover is the problem that I wanted to solve with this, how I built it, what I learned building it with Lovable and some other platforms where things got a little rocky and rough, and what I might do differently today. And I think as we've all kind of been experiencing and learning, easier than ever before to build something, but building something that is meaningful and resonates with folks is almost harder in some ways. And I'll get into that a little bit. So with PathPilot, the problem wasn't that people didn't have a place to go and get their resumes rewritten with AI. That wasn't the problem. Or to get LinkedIn AI to write them a crappy cover letter, right? I used to work at Microsoft at Bing years and years ago, and one of the biggest problems that we faced there was that people didn't know how to formulate queries. They didn't know how to ask for what they wanted. I'm seeing kind of the same thing happen today with AI. People don't know what to prompt. And even if they do know what to prompt first, what to prompt next is just as hard. And if they can get past that, but they don't have a concept, a framework, a process, a recipe for how to do what they want to do, you begin to churn and get stuck very quickly. So that was the problem that I was actually trying to solve, is how do I provide context for the job seeker? How do I provide processes and frameworks that they can leverage? They don't need to know how to prompt. They just need to ask what they want. I need a cover letter. I need my resume rewritten. And the system would do the rest. So I started this process a couple of years ago. As soon as OpenAI allowed people to start building custom GPTs, I did. I started building custom GPTs because I had a convoluted process for how I was looking for jobs, but it was working. And I published it, and it was working for other people. One of my top performing custom GPTs has over 50,000 users. My next one has 10,000 users. So that to me was signal that I'm doing something right. But what I learned was that with all these different GPTs that I was writing, I had to repeat myself. I didn't have a way to point them all to like a source of truth about like me and my career experience. I didn't know how to give it my own tone and voice either. And projects weren't cutting it. So I very quickly understood that I needed to build something on my own. I looked into it. I looked into hiring engineers from the Ukraine and from Bulgaria. I just wasn't going to be able to do it. So I knew I needed to build something on my own. Before building it, though, I wanted to understand beyond this early signal I had from my custom GPTs was, are there even people who want this? You know, what is my total addressable market? How much money is on the table if I were to build this? So there was signal, there was evidence that yes, this is, you know, there is money there, there's a need there for this. I posted on LinkedIn. I asked people for, you know, how they were using AI, what they would find usable. So I did a lot of guerrilla research to get to the point to say like, all right, I'm going to do this. I discovered Lovable and thought, okay, they had a Lovable Shipped. It was like the very first cohort where they were inviting people to come in and spend a couple of months and build something new. So I joined that. And I built my marketing landing page out of it, right? Just to capture interest. And I told myself, if I get 100 people, I'm going to have to actually go build this, right? And I got 100 people. And I thought, oh crap, I got to go build this now, right? So now what? Do I build off of my marketing landing page or do something new? So I knew I had to build something new. The numbers kept going up. The pressure was on to actually go build this. So I had signal. I knew I had a platform that would help me do more than I was able to do before, and I could get started. So how did I build it? Part of my process is that I go on walks with ChatGPT or Claude in voice mode. and I just talk. Random, any order. Here's what I'm thinking about building. It should do this. It's for these people. These are the features I kind of have in mind. And I'll keep going back and forth until it gets to the point where it's reflecting back to me in a much cleaner, more coherent, concise way what I think my idea is. And I say, great, give me a PRD. Give me a product requirements document. So by the time I'm back home, I've got a nice PRD that has captured everything. From there, I would feed it into, this is before Lovable had planning mode. I created a custom GPT that would take my PRD and create batch prompts on architecture, on database, on UI, on experience, so that I could batch feed those in token efficient ways to Lovable and give it basically tasks that were related, as opposed to saying like, I want the UI and I want a database and I want to add new users, just random mix. So I gave it very specific tasks. I did a lot of rough layouts on my iPad, found a reason to have an iPad again. I used a little bit of Figma just for like editing. And I fed all that in. I created a design style guide and I started building. And I used OpenAI and Anthropic as the models in the back. Like I said, single founder, I bootstrapped the whole thing. But while I was building this, right, I had 15 plus custom GPTs that I somehow wanted to bring into my platform. And I didn't want to give Lovable the instructions for each GPT as a long prompt, because like, what if I wanted to add another one? I'd have to give it another one. What if I wanted to edit the instructions for that? So very quickly, I realized that it would be smarter to think about the structure, the systems, the database architecture, the templates, if you will, instead of the specific assistants. So I started thinking about systems and less about the product itself. And what I found, and this was kind of my big aha moment here, super dumb, super simple thing. I've got a user avatar in the UI that you get to if you want to get to your account information. Later, I've got like a digital business card where I also want to show the user's picture. In my mind, in the cozy sanctuary of my mind, I'm thinking, it's going to know. It's going to know to go look into the one database and bring up the picture. It didn't. I had to tell it to. I thought everything was working. Turns out when I changed my picture, it only changed in one location. Because though I was thinking globally, holistically about the entire system, Lovable was acting and building locally. It was only trying to fix and address the feature. So I had to constantly tell it, this is a global feature. This applies to the whole system. Think globally. So AI is good at building the rooms, not so good at understanding the house that those rooms are in. So thinking about it from a platform perspective changed everything about how I built the rest of the platform. The more complexity I added to it, I was able to absorb that because I had built all these templates. I had built ways of editing and creating new types of assistants instead of having to like go through and like reprompt everything. I knew that I needed an admin view, and you were talking about admin view. That became a huge thing for me on my platform. I knew that I needed not only the surface experience for users, but I needed a whole other, like almost like a second app that was all admin focused. And I'll show you that in a bit. But it had my analytics, it had my assistants, it had how I was initializing my assistants. It's where I defined my routing agent. I mean, it was like a whole other secondary experience just to enable the primary experience. But it was a huge unlock for me. And it allowed me to have more flexibility as I thought about it that way. So back to PathPilot real quick. The mental model that I landed on, which is supported by the database, is these two different concepts. There are workspaces, which you can think of as folders. And within the folders, you have all of your assistants. You can pick one. You can use templated folders that make a selection of assistants for you. But then you also have what I call the personality vault. That is where you put in all the information about yourself, writing samples so that it learns your writing style. You put in your Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, DISC personality type so that it knows how you might operate in different areas and how to write for you. It's got your resume, of course, and other things in that too. I'll show you that as well. But these two parts are what make up the core architecture of PathPilot. So the workspaces organize and facilitate the work. That's where all the processes are. That's where the assistants are. The personality vault is what personalizes those experiences. Yeah, okay, yeah. So it took a long time to build. I'm still working on it. And let me just show you real quick. So this is the main UI, the user view. You've got different ways to step into the experience of your early career, mid-career, late career. You've got access to your workspaces and your personality vault. Lovable has been giving me some issue today. There, where it houses all the information about you, your personal brand, your writing samples, stories that you want to use. And the way you use these is when you go into a workspace. Here, I'm applying for a job at Expedia. I have a cover letter. What do you know about me? And it should know a lot. Should not know a lot. So it knows a little bit, right? Now, if I come in here, oh, it's because I have my writing style on. If I turn on my adjectives, my personality types, maybe even like an elevator pitch, and I update this, all of that is being pulled from the personality vault, injected into the stream, passed off to the API, and now, what do you know about me now? To know all of this. So now this becomes part of the context. So when I write an email, when I write a cover letter, it knows all of this extra information now, right? So it's centralized, it's available to all my assistants. And real quick, just to wrap up, the admin console, like you were talking about needing to understand like what your users were doing. I needed to find out what users were doing, what were they using, weren't they using? How do I define all my assistants? I've got initialization sequences. This is where I define all my assistants. I've got assistant settings for which platform I'm using, how I'm calling and initializing those. So this became like the whole secondary experience to basically enable the primary experience. Okay. Questions?
So kind of the initial traction that led to this app was the custom GPTs.
Right.
Were you able to get any kind of information from OpenAI on those users, or it's like just
very little, very little. It's just a number, and you don't even know like what the threshold is for like what your GPT is at. It's like, oh, you hit 1,000. Oh, you hit 10,000. But that's about it. What I did though is because I knew I had traffic there, I built in kind of a redirect into my GPTs. I said, hey, if you love this, you'll really love this other thing. And amazingly enough, that is driving a lot of traffic. So I'm getting a lot of traffic from ChatGPT to PathPilot.
Cool. Yeah, we'll go into the panel discussion on kind of prototypes like that to users. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go through a couple quick concepts and very quick live demo and show you how to get your promo codes. And then since we're a little bit behind, we'll go right to the founder panel as well. So kind of why do I do these kind of events, and why is it a good idea to kind of get an understanding from other founders and how they built this? There are a lot of different agentic coding platforms out there, right? And I think there are pros and cons of all of them. For me, they kind of fall into two buckets, right? Replit, Bolt, Lovable, easy to get started, very capable, but you will run into some limitations of the platforms. Claude Code, Anti-Gravity, Cursor, harder to get started, fewer restrictions, but you have to kind of know more what to ask and how to use the different tools. But the point is that you should be using one of these and experiment with them and find the one that fits for you personally and the business you're trying to create, because how people create applications and write code is changing very quickly. So GitHub Copilot launched in preview in 2021. And for anyone who hasn't seen the technology adoption curve before, it basically says how many people are using a technology and what's the technology that allows that to cross the chasm so that a majority of people can use it. And to me, when Bolt, Lovable, and Replit launched in the fall of 2024, that was the technology that meant that anyone could code with AI. And when you get terms like vibe coding, which was the word of the year last year for one of the dictionaries, I think love-hate relationship with that term, like agentic coding, AI coding, however you want to call it. But it's an indication that a majority of people have heard about these tools and they're starting to use them. And if you look at some of the stats coming out of GitHub recently, I think this year, from the historical technology adoption curve, means that this year is when majority of people will be using coding agents to write code. And I think we've already seen that from stats from GitHub, where it's already almost half of code that's being committed on their platform is written by agents. So we're there. It's moving very quickly. And when you look at how it moves versus past technologies, computers, to get majority adoption took multiple generations, right? Internet took one generation. AI and LLMs, 9 years, 5 years, faster than people at big tech companies get promoted from director to VP. So it's moving very quickly, and what you can do is becoming, like, actually creating the applications is becoming easier. And something we'll talk about in the founder panel is, there's still the whole other part of the being a startup founder and having a successful business, that the coding part used to be the biggest barrier in many cases, especially if you didn't have an engineering degree. Now it's not, but you still have other parts that you need to research and to spend time on. So what I'm going to do is go through a super quick demo and show you how to get your promo code, and then we'll move on to the founder panel. So first off, everyone should have gotten an email with this link to founderseries.webuildwithai.org. If you click down here on the events, join the events, you'll come to your promo code section. So the code, and if you're on the live stream as well, you can implement, is just AI House, no spaces. Answer a few questions about yourself. It helps me understand who's in the audience. And you'll get a promo code, which will automatically copy it and open up Lovable. You can do it on your phone. Lovable has a pretty good mobile website. You can do it on your laptop as well. You just have to do it on the same device that you use to register or fill out the survey, because it'll copy the code and automatically redirect you to Lovable.
All right, what did you say the event code was?
AI House, no spaces. Doesn't matter. I make it a little flexible. When you get the promo code, so it'll copy it for you, so you just control paste. For some reason. All right. Yep, I agree, Dune. Lovables have been having some issues today, getting logged out. So basically, if you already have an account, you just go down here and you're on your desktop, upgrade to Pro, pick the per month $25 plan, upgrade, and you'll get a chance to go to Stripe checkout. It's not going to work for my account because I already have it. Apply a promo code, and then you'll get 1 month free. So I do a lot of different events, and we have another Founder Series event coming at the end of the month over in Bellevue. And I also just launched a Founder Lab event with Lev, which is an AI co-founder coming out of Pioneer Square Labs. And I'm going to do an event with them on how to use Lev to basically do a lot of the hard parts of coming up with your competitive strategy, coming up with your design system and everything like that. And so what I did was I just gave it an idea that I wanted to build. A lot of people have been asking me how to get started with Claude Code, for instance. And like I said in the graph before, it is harder to get started, even though that has some additional capabilities. So what I gave was basically just, here's my idea. I want to create the Clippy for terminals so that there's a guide on your desktop that can help you get started, install the packages that you need in order to use Claude Code in a terminal. What would that look like? And it went through and it gave me, here's customer discovery, here's how you would interview potential customers, competitive landscape, etc. And somewhere around here, it gives me basically an example prompts to start with the landing page. And so if I go into Lovable, I'm just gonna paste that prompt and we'll see, and it's gonna ask me to sign in again. And we'll see what it develops. While we're doing that, I already made a different version before the events. And I'm just going to use that to give a quick overview. So how many people here have used Lovable before? Okay, about half or so. How many people here have used Claude Code before? About half. Is it the same people that raised their hand both times? Yeah, okay. So it's trying a bunch of different platforms. So for the other half of you, again, with that promo code, you get 100 credits for the month. If you want to, we have two other Lovable ambassadors here. Craig, where's Craig? Over there. And Suha, right there. They will be able to go into the conference rooms. And if you would like to build and have some one-on-one guidance with them on how to get started, create your own landing page, experiment with something, create a personal project, they'll be there to do that. Or if you want to stay for the founder pattern, you can do that as well. Like super quick overview, as some of the people who've built, some of the founders who built their products on Lovable can show you, it's pretty easy to get started. Everything's all in one place. When it generates a kind of the first version, you can automatically see. So this is the first version that was created, basically a landing page where you can generate signups. Everything, if you want to enable it, everything can be all in one place. So your backend, your authentication, etc. You also have free usage for AIs using Gemini that automatically adds an API for you. And you can even see like analytics and then also review the code itself. So just super quick overview. Again, if you want to learn more or build something, you can go as soon as I finish the next slide, and we'll take a 5-minute break before the founder panel. The last thing I'll say is, so do a lot of different events. I've done, like I said, over 50 events over the last year. About 80% of the people who come to them are non-engineers. I do events for kind of more technical engineers as well. So in June, for instance, we're doing a meetup with Cursor. Like I said, on the 50th or on the 30th, we have the Eastside event. On the 10th is the Founder Lab with Lev. And then I'm also doing an event here at AI House during Tech Week. So if you want to see these events and more, you can subscribe to my Luma calendar. If you want to sponsor or if you want to volunteer in the future, you can send me an email, events@webuildwithai. And with that, we'll take a 5-minute break for us to bring up the founders for the panel. And if you want to build, you can go to the build rooms to do that. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see if we have time, like before 3:35. We'll see how long that goes. Yeah, let's do it. That was one of the on the website. So founder series that we look at should be in your email. That's cool. I just feel like I was so going like the
it's really interesting. There's a 5 lines in English. Not over some right? There's things like browsers are very reverse certified. Let's just search it for video research. And I think there's still like, well, the study is to have some type of like and what level. The base so that's something that's a platform that's
Next session, how long is it to sit down?
I mean, the event goes till 5, so like half an hour-ish.
Half an hour for this one.
Are you
No,
sometimes
I feel like not quite.
It's almost like they did their I'm just like, it's why it's so hard to break it. healthcare and the fintech space with AI.
Those are like the babies, like that.
But it's not just the cloud, it's also the software that you build. It needs to be compliant. It's just putting your software in the cloud doesn't make it secure. In your Google Cloud, where you it doesn't make it secure. You still have to have security built into your state. Building your own software, the chances that you creating a secure private space. For example.
Oh, yeah. I use it all the time. But then I do too much. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't. They can get my thing. They get it.
For lawyers specifically, especially like when I talk to lawyers about what they're working on with AI, they don't want to put their clients' information into the public domain, right? So they're afraid to use LLMs unless it's on a private on-prem device like LLM that they have that's private. It doesn't go to the cloud because they don't. It's proprietary information. You don't. They want the LLMs, the broader LLMs, the public ones.
Yeah, no, you don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
Everything I have is like we have the original cloud. Everything is mine. Hired like like part of like cloud. It's like everything's like there's no outside.
But there's still Google Cloud is getting from you think that they're not, but they always they have access to all of your data just by cloud, and they're still putting it.
What I'm saying is like if that's the case, every single government has and access to most governments. Cloud,
They're not using the same cloud. They build a separate cloud. I work at AWS. They build a separate in AWS.
But AWS it's like nothing's like sacred. I'm not going to get around that because there's someone always have someone technically always have that in some way.
Okay, we're gonna get started with the founders panel.
They do.
So if I can get the founders up here in the seats and audience in the seats too, we'll have some questions and then open it up to the audience for Q&A as well.
Data flow, right? There's some, it's restricted, it's encrypted.
But it's found in the cloud and then do a loop around. So
Hello?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm not trying to debate it, but I'm just saying there are different reasons why and that's there's privacy and security of data. Oh, thank you.
My daughter.
Yeah.
Jenia still here?
I've seen Jenia.
She's there. That's great. She's great.
And you're not gonna my phone.
Is this
Yeah.
Oh, okay. To get one of those donuts. It's been a minute since I've had a donut.
Do you want me to get you a donut?
I'll wait till
Or wait till after? Okay.
A little mini one?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna eat, and I was like, oh.
You got stuff, yeah.
A lot of people are building.
Okay, 4 or 5 founders. Always be hustling, right? Okay, so thank you all for talking about what you built. I think maybe just to kind of give the audience a little bit of a reminder, super quick, go through like your name, what you were doing before you became a founder, and what your app is. And then maybe what in your background prepared you the most, and what was the biggest learning curve when you became a founder? Anyone wants to start?
I guess I can start. Nicole Doyle. I'm building Aspire, which is creating democratizing access to entrepreneurship. I was a former head of ops, head of people for Series A startups. Before that, I was at AWS, Uber, Meta, and recruiting for product and engineering teams on the innovation side of the business. That is the thing that taught me the most, right? You're always pipeline building as a founder, pipeline building with investors, customers, partners, everything is a pipeline funnel. So recruiting for 15 years actually built that muscle for me.
What was the hardest challenge?
Oh, the hardest challenge.
Or what it didn't prepare you for? That was the biggest learning curve.
I think it is the competitive side of being a founder, right? There's if you've figured out a space where there is a true pain point, there are always going to be competitors and upshoots and things, and you try not to get in the constant comparison mode and just do your thing.
Thank you.
I'm Jenia. Built in Atta. It's BI part of assistant. And before that, I've been working in marketing, mostly for early stage startups. But about a year before I came up with the idea of Atta, I was working for a big enterprise who they were focusing on health tech and pharmaceutical solutions in IT and security and stuff. So basically, I think that the combination of the factors that I'm a generalist who've done lots of stuff with content, with go-to-market, with partnerships. I guess that's what helps me a lot with this initial steps, like research, like creating a brand around Atta, like defining the strategy for it. But I definitely want to have more skills now in terms of some technical stuff. So yeah, being a marketing founder, I think is awesome because it's easier to understand your audience, to get all of these insights about what you should build. But on the other hand, and you know how to communicate with them. But on the other hand, this part about actually building more product, that's the challenge.
Hi, I'm Padmarchana, Kandi. I currently lead strategies and programs for a global nonprofit called Future Alliance. My background spans from being a software engineer, entrepreneurship, product manager. So I was being a mom and also had a lot of career break due to moving from India till here. So all those experiences built me with a lot of resilience, rejections, and also uncertainties in every walk of life, like personally or professionally. And I was a learner in one of these AI community learning programs through Microsoft. And that's where I realized I started learning AI, and then I realized what is a community learning and how it is. And later, I became a chief of staff for the next iteration for Microsoft similar program. And then I was offered this to lead through this global nonprofit going forward. So now the biggest challenge for me was how was all the uncertainties and with the advancement of AI and also the rejections and the failures. That was a huge learning curve. Then I realized that communication and connecting with people was my core strength, and it's like that I have taken that as my positive strength, and then now I'm leading communities and building communities, global communities across through this organization.
Hi there, my name is Dune. I'm a product designer, and I've been in product design for over 20 years, worked at companies large and small, Microsoft, mobile, and also a handful of startups. What's prepared me for this part of life and found being a founder? Legos, maybe. I played a lot with Legos as a kid. I think being an English major, being in the liberal arts also helped, especially with prompting and clarity of communication. I'm a tinkerer, right? So that curiosity has also always been a big enabler for me to like get into new things and learn. So all of that, I would say, kind of like helped prepare me for this. Being around product